Well, guys, on the heels of a blockbuster, if you want to call it that, Survivor Series War Games PLE, we did see Bron Breakker pin the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk, which seemed to be what the premise of what this show was built on. And we did get a comment from one Triple H that said that this Raw was going to be, quote, epic, end quote. I don't really think it was epic, but we want to find out what you guys think, and we're going to talk about it. So, with that, welcome to the 716 Sports Entertainment Podcast, episode number 67, 68, 67. And we are going to break it all down. So this was the Monday Night Raw, which was for the, as I mentioned, the Raw after Survivor Series. So we had our typical WWE, making sure that if you didn't watch Survivor Series, you got a full recap of it because they do that after every single thing, which is, I guess it's fine. Also kind of treats your audience like they're stupid a little bit. But I don't know. I don't think that this show really was epic, but I don't know. What do you think, Sean?
Epic is not the word I would use to describe it. However, I will say it was nowhere near as shitty as SmackDown. So that's a win in my book. Several things happened on it, which we'll get through as we break it down, that I definitely have opinions on, and we'll see where they go going forward with it. But in regards to this whole thing about making a big deal about Braun pinning Punk, didn't Braun already win a number one contendership at one point that like everybody has forgotten about? Right after Punk won his title, him and LA Knight had a match for a number one contendership down the road that Bron Breakker won, and everybody seems to have forgotten about.
I
Right?
forgot about that.
So
Continuity.
exactly right. Like why do we need to make a big deal about the fact that he pinned Punk in War Games when the guy was already technically the number one contender?
Yeah, I completely forgot about that, so thank you for bringing that up. Um, yeah, stupid. And
Like
okay, and what you know what? And one more thing while we're ranting, wasn't the whole point of like Survivor Series, I guess, other than take away the John Cena thing, because I actually think the stuff with the Judgment Day on this episode was probably the one of the only redeeming qualities of this episode. But the mystery attacker, there was like other than like two backstage blurbs with Adam Pearce, one with Paul Heyman and one where he was talking to a referee. We basically got nothing on that at all. And like the Vision kind of made it seem like they don't really give a crap who that person is. So if
yeah,
that person is supposedly supposed to be Austin Theory, who's supposed to be a part of your group, like what are we doing? What are you doing?
unless they're gonna, I mean, I feel like it would be a mistake to drag it out too long,
Mhm.
because if you drag it out more than probably another week before revealing it, I think that people will lose interest. Even though I will
Mhm.
say one of the funniest things I saw on the Seth pool known as X was somebody posting a picture of the masked person from behind, saying that they would know those ass cheeks from anywhere, and then they posted a picture of Austin Theory next to it,
That's
um,
funny. That's
which was I
funny.
thought was pretty damn funny. But I think WWE is at risk of of their audience losing attention with it. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. So let's talk about that because that was obviously probably one of other than some of the matches that was kind of like the big highlight of the show, right? Like we had Bron Breakker and the Vision come down to the ring, and this was really their opportunity to have Bron Breakker cut a promo, and he cut a fiery ass promo. And I got to give him props. Like you could see the Steiner coming out in him quite a bit when he was cutting that promo, and it was great. I mean, he put down CM Punk, and he really he made it seem like he is, a legit top guy who can cut a promo. He's got the look. And frankly, I mean, I think he should win the title. I think he should have already won the title, but I see no reason why the first Raw when they're going to have this match, the New Year show, if you will, on January 5th, the new net, how they kind of debuted their Netflix thing a year ago, which is the reason why they're doing this. Um, I feel like he should win it, although I don't think he's going to because I think, spoiler alert, I think Brock Lesnar is going to interfere in that match and cost him, and the two of them are going to have a program like that. I mean, that seems exactly to me where that is going to go.
I feel like it's going to depend on what happens in WWE up to that. Like any if any injuries happen, anything crazy happens. I think that if they don't do the Lesnar thing, it is 100% the best route they should take. That Braun should win over Punk, which is unfortunate because I think Punk should have held the title for a little bit longer than that. But you also made the point that Braun probably should have won it sooner, which I can agree with as well. Watching this promo, I will say WWE has done a really good job of presenting Braun not just as a legitimate like badass, but a heel that you don't really want to cheer for because he's kind of an asshole. Like just his attitude, his yelling at the fans, like unlike how like people like to cheer for Rollins and sing his song and everything. Or Braun feels more like an old school heel that you could hate.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you say that. One of our subscribers had made mention about how the audience are kind of like marks, right? Where they're gonna cheer whoever they
Yeah.
want to cheer, and they're gonna boo whoever they want to boo. And it's really interesting to think about that because I know we've said that in some of our earlier episodes where it's like WWE has a real problem with presentation on a lot of these characters because it's like you're never gonna get Seth booed with that
Nope.
song. Right? Like they're not going to do it. The audience is like it was the same thing back in the Attitude Era with Stone Cold Steve Austin and the what chant, right? Like certain characters because of their 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 catchphrases or their songs or whatever else, like the audience is just not going to boo them. No matter how much you want them to get booed, unless you somehow pull like a Dominic Mysterio, which I mean, say what you want
Well,
about Dominic Mysterio. Like I've given my feelings on him holding the IC title, which I still think I get getting it off of Cena, and it's fine the way they did it, but that needs to not stay on him very long.
I don't think it's going to, but in regards to your point about like the Attitude Era, I will give credit where credit's due to someone who we currently love to hate on, who was actually really good at being a heel back then, of The Rock. The Rock did such a good job of, mind you, I'm not talking now Rock, where we despise him. I'm talking Attitude Era Rock, where people legitimately hated him when he came back as Hollywood Rock because of just the way that he put down everybody, the audience, the other stars. Like that man drew heat at that point. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
like you said, there's no the audience thinks they're smarter than the product, and I think that honestly hurts the product nowadays.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can certainly see. Well, I think no, I think the internet crowd thinks they're smarter than the people who book the show. I think the live fans who go there, they just want to have a good time. And that's why they cheer, that's why they sing. That's why, like and I think WWE doesn't book, unlike AEW, WWE doesn't book for the internet crowd. They book for the live crowd. And
Yeah,
they're about making moments. That's all WWE
right.
gives a shit about. Entrances, making moments. Like that's all they care about anymore. And, I feel like the days of having these larger than life personalities and stuff like that and everything else like that. I think it's done. I think it's all about the pomp and circumstance now. I really do because they've got pretty much infinite cash at this point with which to do whatever they want with, right? Like, I mean, the stages are getting larger and more grandiose. The pyro is getting ridiculous. Everybody gets pyro now, and like the big time players get stupid amounts of pyro. Look at the pyro that Lesnar got the other day that knocked him on his ass. Like, I mean, seriously, I still think that was Sub-Zero, but that's neither here nor there. So, but let's get into the show a little bit and let's break it down here. So, Rhea and Io came out to be the first ones to kind of welcome us to Monday Night Raw. To with which they were interrupted by Alexa and Charlotte, and the former champions basically were like, look, we want a rematch before you guys get your opportunity at the tag team titles. And that was kind of like, what built towards what was going to be the main event between these four women as basically a match with which to be the number one contenders for the women's tag team title. And we mentioned off air, like when before you and I hopped on here, that I'm kind of okay with this because a couple of things happening here, right? One, all four of these women belong in the title picture for the main title, for Stephanie's title and or Jade's title, if they were to be on SmackDown. And I think keeping these women in the women's tag team title picture does two things that are good, in my opinion. One, it elevates those tag team titles because you have prominent stars surrounding them. But also, too, it gives something for all of these women to do instead of just kind of like kicking the tires around waiting to get to the next feud. Because I still am of the mind we're gonna get Rhea and Stephanie at
Yep.
WrestleMania, and Rhea's probably gonna win the Elimination Chamber. That's probably what's gonna happen.
I agree with you for the most part. I think that it's good to have these bigger name stars in the feud over the tag team title. The only point that I disagree with is, I mean, I do agree Alexa and Charlotte made a good point about them being first to challenge for it since they lost their titles because of the War Games lead up and everything.
Hmm.
But I do think that the sooner we can get one or somehow maybe both of them into the main title picture on SmackDown, the sooner we can maybe fix that show. But I don't want it to come at the cost of good TV with this tag feud.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So our first official match of the show was the Never Seen 17 John Cena Ultimate Time Is Now, Last Time Forever Now tournament between for the semifinals between Jey Uso and LA Knight. Jey Uso, obviously, who had just been in the War Games match, and LA Knight, who previously defeated The Miz. Which, if you guys haven't seen our SmackDown episode, we broke that one down at length. So I'm not going to get into how stupid that was. That everything that happened with that match. So we won't really talk about it. We'll just talk about this match on its merits and kind of where it goes from here, right? So this was a back and forth affair. Neither one of these guys was really able to like sustain any kind of advantage for any period of time. Bunch of near falls. Jey Uso delivered such a sloppy spear. Like
Yeah.
it looked terrible. It looked really, really bad. And then towards the end of the match, the Uso went for the splash. But LA Knight kind of shifted his weight a little bit, executed a crucifix roll up, and scored the come from behind win. After the match, Jey Uso was like, kind of just sitting there looking frustrated, sitting by the ring post. Then he just kind of like tore up the ringside area, threw all the prime bottles around, and I don't know. I don't know what we're doing with this. I don't know if it's some kind of like downward spiral for Jey Uso. He did have a interview segment with Jackie backstage like a little bit later on in the show where he was just like, I think Roman was right and I don't really know what the hell to do right now for me. So, but I don't know. What did you make of the match? And then I think what did you make and what are your thoughts on where we go with Jay and with LA Knight as he heads toward the finals, which actually let's skip the LA Knight thing. We'll talk about that after we talk about the other match.
Yeah, because you and I, there was a point I wanted to make about what you and I talked about in our chat. But I think that I'm incredibly glad that it wasn't Jay that won because I don't know if this is a hot take, but it feels like Jay is regressing to me. Like he is looking not just in ring work, because like you said, that spear was incredibly sloppy looking, but in his promos too, it feels like he's sort of stumbling over his words, and it almost feels like his right after when he won the Rumble last year, went in that build up to Mania where it was real sloppy. It just I'm getting feelings like that out of how he has been being presented and how he's been coming across. And in his backstage comment after losing, I think the most telling thing to me was the comment he made about how Roman said that the titles look best over his shoulder. That I'm thinking that we're going to get something for him and Roman finally. But I think LA Knight was the right choice here. And I'm over Jey Uso right now. Straight up over.
So I am so glad that you brought that up because I was going to wait until Friday to talk about this because of what I think the direction that they're going to go with the WWE Championship. Um, but we are very likely going to get Cody Roman 3
Yep.
at WrestleMania. Like that was the big tease that they showed at the start of the show, and the big thing that was supposedly that they did a really half-ass job of showing at the end of Survivor Series, right? Where Roman wouldn't help Cody up, but he would help Punk up, and he gave Punk the fist bump, but he wouldn't give one to Cody, and they exchanged words off the microphone that you could barely hear, but it was something along the lines of "We're never going to tag again," right? Like, and then they re-showed that footage when they opened the Monday Night Raw show of the two of them kind of having their stare off there a little bit. So I don't think that's where we're going to go with Jay. And if we do go with Jay, it's going to be like a real half-ass program between him and Roman. Unless, like, just thinking off the top of my head, unless Jay costs Roman the match at
That's
WrestleMania or something like that, right? It's got to be WrestleMania. Like, I don't think we're going to see Roman again until the Royal Rumble. And then, God, oh my God, is he going to win the Royal Rumble or is he going to
I hope
win?
so. Before we even talk about that, I that's the problem is I agree with you. Whatever it's going to be between Jay and Roman is going to be incredibly half-assed. And the problem is it came out, there was a report that the original plan for Mania this year was going to be Punk, or not Punk, was going to be Roman and Seth on night two. And obviously, Seth's injury has completely derailed that. That's why I think we're going to get Cody and Roman now.
Well, Seth has been stating that he's going to be back by WrestleMania. But I
Yeah, but
mean,
you have time
it
to build a
might be,
feud at that point.
yeah, it might be too late to do a program. And with that, and I think it's very likely that he probably will do a match with Bron Breakker there
Yeah,
if he can come back. If Breaker's the champion there. If
right.
not, like I'm still of the mind Breaker's going to do the match with Brock Lesnar there. Um, I mean, I don't know how or what. I don't know how we get there, but I mean, well, I know how we get there, but I don't know what we do with CM Punk then. But I mean, well, I guess we'll just have to. I mean, maybe he can do a match with Gunther or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But no, I think that that's why we're gonna get Roman and Cody again. And not just because it's the money match, but because that's kind of the where they've been forced into a little bit. And that also unfortunately puts us in the spot of whatever half-ass thing they're gonna do with Jay and Roman. And that's honestly just from his comment about Roman, that's why I have the feeling about that.
And I got to be honest with you, I don't want to see Cody and Roman again
Not particularly. Not unless they somehow have it as Cody as the heel. I would be a little bit better with it if that was the case.
because I don't really want Roman to be the champion again. Like I kind of don't
Roman,
want Roman to. I don't really want Roman to ever hold that belt again
I don't know
because
that he
like
will.
you can't like you can't do that title reign that he did again. And if he loses that in some kind of bullshit lackluster fashion, like I'm not going to be okay with that either, you
Yeah,
know?
it kills the mystique.
Yeah, like you're not gonna give him another 4 year title reign, but you're also not gonna like he's not gonna hold it for very long, right? So like what are we doing? Are him and Cody just gonna trade the belt back and forth for a while? Like I don't like any of this. I don't like any of this story. I don't like have just do the damn Cody Randy match already.
Yeah,
Like
that's what
seriously,
people
just do
want.
the damn Cody Randy match already. Like that's the match. That's the story you've been telling half-assedly, but you've still been building to that. Just do that match at WrestleMania and get it over with.
So I don't know that Roman's ever going to hold the title again, just based off of. Did you hear what Triple H had to say about Roman? That
No.
Roman is Triple H during an interview, more or less. I think he actually flat out said it that Roman is bigger than any title nowadays. And I think that's true. I don't think Roman needs to ever hold the title again, especially because he's not going to be around. He's not around enough.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'll do the Lesnar thing with him. You know what I mean?
No, they can't go back to that. Like the way that was in the 2010s where Brock Lesnar was the champion for what seemed like 4 years straight,
And you saw
and
him twice.
you saw him like twice a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just this getting back on track, I just really think that I think the LA Knight choice to go over was the better choice for this match. And I think that my opinion of Jey Uso is A, they need to cut the Yeet thing because if they're gonna go Jay being an asshole kind of route, he needs to not have a happy go lucky pause every match and have a Yeet intermission kind of thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And actually, while we're on the subject of LA Knight, let's just talk about the other match, which
Yeah.
was the best match on the show, and
Oh,
that was the match between Gunther and Solo Sikoa. I loved this match, and the crowd, the crowd gave this one a standing ovation after it was over. This match was amazing, and I know a lot of the internet just doesn't get or doesn't like Gunther, but I think Gunther's the best. I think he's one of the best wrestlers in the company, and I've never seen that man put on a bad match. Never once. I think he's just absolutely spectacular, and I think having him feud with or having him have the match with LA Knight is going to be fine. And I don't really care what direction we go with the match with him and John Cena. I think he probably should still beat John Cena. Like I think that's the right thing to do. But like even if John Cena were to win that final match in a couple weeks time here, I don't think that really hurts Gunther. I don't know. I mean, Gunther got a good match out of Bill Goldberg, so like I'm not bothered by it.
I think because we knew what we were going to get out of Gunther in this match, I think all the kudos needs to go to Solo Sikoa in this as well. Like he managed to go in the ring and stand out with Gunther.
Hmm.
And I mean, we know that we expect amazing things out of Gunther, but who would have thought that Solo Sikoa could have that great of a match? It was incredible. I mean, I wasn't the happiest about how it ended with Gunther not just winning straight out through his power bombs with him kicking Solo in the junk, but just because Gunther really his whole the ring is sacred, you don't normally see him like cheat. He just normally overpowers everybody. But
Didn't bother me.
it didn't it's not like end of the world. I still think it was the best match on the show, and it was probably outside of the Carmelo Hayes Gunther match, probably the best match in this tournament so far.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It was, yeah, far and above. And I would imagine when these two guys go on SmackDown, it's probably going to be the main event, and they're probably going to give it like 30 minutes, which they
And
should. And it'll probably be awesome.
it's gonna save the episode of SmackDown on Friday, in all
Yeah.
honesty. And honestly, I personally, you and I talked about this in the chat. You think I'm crazy for thinking it, but I think LA Knight should win because if they're gonna put Cena over, I think that LA Knight A would get a big win by beating Gunther, which LA Knight really hasn't had any big wins lately. You know what I mean? And I think losing to Cena, no matter who loses to Cena, I don't think it really hurts either of them.
But here's my pushback to you.
That's yeah.
So what then?
That's the problem though. Honestly,
They're not putting a title on LA Knight. Like it's not gonna happen. LA Knight is perennially gonna be an upper mid Carter pretty much forever.
always a
I mean,
bridesmaid for LA Knight.
yeah, always a bridesmaid, never a bride, right? And I think that they need to, I mean, put the goddamn Intercontinental title on somebody else. LA Knight would be a great person to put the IC title on.
I don't think Dom is going to hold the IC title very long this time. I think this is just like a placeholder, especially because later on in the show there were a couple comments made by I think it was during the Mysterio and Logan Paul backstage thing. But I
Yeah.
think that I just my other thing though is what do you do with Gunther though after especially if he loses to Cena? Like what was the point of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I still am of the mind that I think, I don't know. I want
I just
Gunther to win the Royal. Like, if I could have it my way, I would have Gunther win the Royal Rumble, and I would have Gunther challenge Cody.
Yeah,
Like, if I could have it my way and booked the way I want it, that's what I would do. Or I would have Bron Breakker beat CM Punk, become the champion there, and then do that match at if you're set on doing Roman and Cody, then you do Gunther and Bron
Gunther.
Breakker at WrestleMania. If you're not gonna go the route of Brock and Bron Breakker, but Brock is on the friggin' WrestleMania poster, so you know,
Honestly, I would be fine with Brock and Gunther.
yeah, you could do that too. They've been teasing that one for a while. But
Like,
then what do you do? What do
there
you do with Braun? What do you do with Braun? Is it the Seth match?
you Braun Seth or Braun and Punk, depending on who's got the title at that point.
But then what do you do with Punk if it's Braun and Seth?
I'm sure we can find some sort of feud for him.
Inject him into the Cody Roman match?
Or I'm sure there's just something that we could do feud wise with him.
I mean, like I said, I want the Cody Punk match. I want the Cody Randy match. I'd love a Cody Gunther match. I don't need Cody and Roman again. I don't need it.
No, it's I think that honestly, I don't think Roman needs to be in any title matches anymore.
Nope. Completely agree with you.
Treat him how like you treat Brock. Have him come in for marquee matches that don't have to be title matches.
Mhm.
I mean, if you desperately need like a big money title match, you can always throw Roman in there, but do it as like a multi-man match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But getting back onto topic here, I think
Well,
that the finals of LA Knight and Gunther are probably, I mean, I would have preferred Carmelo Hayes and Gunther in the finals, but given what we got, I think that I'm okay with Knight and Gunther in the finals.
all right. So moving on, then we did have Dominic Mysterio come out with all of the Judgment Day except for Liv first, and he gave props to all of his teammates of Finn, JD, Roxanne, and Raquel. And then Liv obviously came out to a huge pop and basically just said that she's back and very clearly delineated herself as the leader of the Judgment Day. Like,
Yep.
Liv is 100% the leader of the Judgment Day. And I think that that was the purpose of this segment and the purpose of like the entire show, right? Like, Liv is in the WrestleMania video. She was the surprise person for the women's side of the WrestleMania teaser trailer thing, and she very clear well we'll get ourselves into the main event here and we'll talk about it, but she very clearly was like trying to be like all of the gold is going to be on the Judgment Day, right? Because she had a backstage segment with Stephanie where she's going to go after Stephanie's title, right? And then the main event, where we saw the women's match between Rhea, Io, Charlotte, and Alexa, obviously saw a ton of stuff happen after the fact, right? For the Kabuki Warriors to come in, cause the double DQ, which caused Bayley and Lyra to come down. And then, Liv and the team showed up attacking all the baby faces to kind of stand tall. And then there was a segment where she handed the title back to Roxanne as well,
Yep.
right? They held it up to close out the show. So, we'll talk about the match in a second here, but like this whole, other than the Bron Breakker stuff, this whole show really seemed like it was focused around making Liv look as big as she possibly can.
Oh yeah, and she looks good coming back too. Like she's in great shape. I am expecting her match when she has it with Stephanie to be incredible. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm real curious to see how they do the putting the Judgment Day back to the forefront here. I don't know that I want to see them hold all the gold again because I wasn't a real big fan of their last run, like with the men's titles. But I would be okay with them starting by winning the women's titles back and going from there with Liv leading the two of them. Maybe have if Liv can't end up beating Stephanie, maybe she wins the over Maxine and wins that title. And
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think Stephanie should drop the title yet, for sure. But I do think
I
that
don't
you
think
have a
she's going
way.
to.
I do think you have a way of still putting gold on Liv, and it her still being the leader with that gold.
Yeah. No, I still am of the mind the money match is Rhea and Stephanie, and that's what we're gonna get at Mania. Just like we're gonna get Jade and Bianca at WrestleMania on the other side. Like it's like almost a virtual certainty that that's where we're gonna go with those two those two titles. And like it makes sense because you've got all of your other big players tied up in tag team stuff. And to be honest with you, I feel like a 5 team ladder match, unless you break up Alexa and Charlotte by WrestleMania, I feel like a ladder match, like if you don't end up doing Stephanie and Liv like at WrestleMania, or Stephanie and Rhea at WrestleMania, you do Stephanie and Liv, a ladder match between all of the teams that were involved in this would be a lot of fun for those women's titles. If you did Rhea, Io, Bailey, Lyra, the Kabuki Warriors, and the Judgment Day all in some kind of ladder match for these titles at WrestleMania, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be real. That would be, my God, that would be a hell of a match. I think that could be the potential for a very good stipulation for that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and not to take away from the match itself before all the shenanigans happened, because that was a hell of a match between Rhea and Io and Charlotte and
Yeah, I'll let
Alexa.
you go ahead and break that one down for the audience.
Obviously, the match itself ended in the double DQ when the Kabuki Warriors came out, which honestly was the worst part of the interference because it looked like Kyrie missed several spots there. But the match itself, my God, the near falls, the razor's edges hit on
I,
Alexa,
I love
like
that.
it was just these four women for the fact that they were just in that War Games match brought everything to this match. And
Mhm.
obviously, it's going to lead to both of them being declared number one contenders because that's how these things work out. And I'm expecting some sort of probably three-way match against the Kabuki Warriors to start off the five with tag team shenanigans over the next several months here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I can't say enough good things about the match. It was definitely, I mean, you put stars of this caliber in a match, you're going to get a great match, you know. We've shit on Charlotte a lot on this channel, but I mean, lately she's been, the character work has been good, and Charlotte's always been great in the ring.
Yep.
So, you can't, it's kind of crazy that of the 4 women in this match, Alexa Bliss, of all people, was probably the weakest link in the match. And that's
Yeah.
saying something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Alexa Bliss is great. And if
Yeah.
she's the weakest link of this match, like that's an incredible amount of talent in your match. Before we jump over to the tag team belts, I wanted to talk quickly about that vignette with Natalia training Maxine Dupree. I thought that was awesome. I liked that a lot, and I really like what they're doing with Maxine. They're really trying to move her up the card, and I like that. I like that a lot, and I thought that vignette was fantastic, and I hope they do more things like that. I really do.
I also like that they're using Natalia's outside of WWE character, the more serious Natty Neihart version of her that she uses for when she goes and takes part in the blood sport events and all that, like the
Mhm.
more realistic type things. And using this sort of vignette to show her literally beating Maxine to make her stronger is, I think, huge for both of them. And I think
Mhm.
that when Natty comes back, it'll be good to see her being taken more seriously. And I think she's going to help Maxine move up the card, like you just said.
I agree. I agree. So then, surprisingly, we also had the Raw tag team titles be defended on this show, which they have been a little bit more since AJ, I was gonna say AJ Lee, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee have captured those titles. They defended them against the New Day, and obviously, they did retain, and they're going to have a match again with the War Raiders next week as well. But it is nice to see these guys defending these titles. I don't think they're going to hold them forever. They'll probably keep them for another month or two. Maybe they'll drop them back to the Judgment Day or to the Vision, at some point. Maybe when we get the reveal that it's Austin Theory, maybe Bronson Reed and Austin Theory go after those titles or something like that, because it seems like Logan Paul is going to kind of insert himself into the IC title picture.
Yep. So, hot take here. I think that they're going to drop it next week to the War Raiders.
Really? What makes you
Yep.
say that?
I think with the fact that they made a big deal about how the War Raiders never got their actual rematch when they lost the titles to when they got hosed by the Judgment Day. I think that the AJ Styles Dragon Lee thing was just a interim thing to get him off of the Judgment Day, and I think the War Raiders are going to win him back, and I think that's who the Vision's going to take it off of.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because,
I mean,
like you
maybe.
just said, I expect the once Austin Theory is brought out as part of it and Logan Paul wins the Intercontinental title, because he's going to be the one who wins it off Dom. I'm calling it now. I think that the fact that he's already held the U.S. title, I don't think he's ever held the Intercontinental, has he?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that because if they're all going to be part of the Vision, I would I would be perfectly fine with every member of the Vision carrying gold.
I feel like that's long overdue at this
Yeah.
point. Like you had an opportunity to put those tag belts on Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed 6 months ago, and you should have done that,
Yeah.
and you didn't.
They should have probably been the ones to go in and beat the Judgment Day.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And then you have a program between two factions. Like,
Yeah,
holy shit, WWE, like you can do that, believe it or not.
I'll say that's I don't normally compliment AEW, but that's one thing AEW usually does pretty well is like issues between factions. And WWE never really seems to do that. I mean, you can see they're trying to set it up with the MFTs and the Wyatts, but I don't know that I trust them not to botch that. So we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, for sure. So that was Monday Night Raw. What are your final thoughts and ratings for the show?
I say that it was definitely better than the PLE itself. Not that that was saying a whole lot, but I think it was saved by the quality of the matches that were on the show and the people who were in them. I give it my normal rating of two and a half for a Raw.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think it was better than SmackDown, which was a relatively low bar. And I mean, I don't love that like they build this to be an epic show and it really wasn't. And I'm getting a little annoyed that a lot of these shows are getting a bit too talky and there's not enough wrestling. Like if
Yeah.
I paid to go to some of these shows and I saw three matches in a 2 hour period, I would kind of be a little bit annoyed. So I'm kind of hoping that there are, going forward, we start to get a few more matches on these shows. Like I think four should be the standard. Five might be too many, but I think four should kind of be the standard amount of matches you get on these shows, especially when SmackDown is going to go to 3 hours
Yes.
in in a little bit here. I think frankly it should be five on SmackDown if you're going to go that long. But I would say with that, my final rating for the show is a flip the microphone to Logan Paul out of five. So with that, guys, that was our show. As always, thank you guys so much for joining us. Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. We read and respond to all of them, and we love to hear from you guys. And, as you may have noted during the show, we like to talk about what you guys bring to the table too, because like we see it from our subscribers and from our commenters. There's a lot of stuff like we don't even think about, and I love to like hear that stuff and kind of like incorporate it into the way I like to fantasy book. And I'm sure Sean, does the
Oh,
same
sure.
as well. So we really appreciate it, guys, and thank you so much for all of the subs and all of the support. So with that, have yourselves a fantastic evening and take care.